Hi everyone, Dexter here. Today I'm going to discuss Sheriff's Trust Fund. So Sheriff's Trust Fund has three provisions under Section 10, Rule 141 of the Revised Rules of Court. Under Paragraph 2, it talks about creation of STF. Paragraph 3, about service of court processes outside the territorial jurisdiction of the court. And paragraph 4 for execution of writs. So this execution of writs, the deposit for this one is different from the collection of the 1000 STF. Okay. So this video tutorial will focus on paragraph 2 only, the creation of STF, how the sheriff or process server can cash advance, liquidate, or use the reimbursement, or return the excess of the 1,000 if there's a final judgment. Okay. So paragraph 2 provides that in addition to the fees above fixed, the amount of the 1,000 pesos shall be deposited with the clerk of court upon filing of the complaint to defray the actual travel expenses of the sheriff, process server, or other court-authorized persons in the service of summons, subpoena, and other court processes that would be issued relative to the trial of the case. So, if the court has no sheriff or process server, the judge or the court can authorize any personnel there who can serve summons, subpoena, and other court processes. Okay? So, what are those fees above fixed being referred here? So, let's check Section 10. So, Section 10, subsection A to L. So these are the fees under Section 10. So under Section A, for serving summons and copy of complaint for each defendant. Under subsection B, for serving subpoenas in civil action or other proceedings for each witness to be served. And subsection H, for services relating to the posting and publication requirements under Rule 39. So only regarding judicial foreclosure. So how about costs or expenses relating to extrajudicial foreclosure of mortgage by the sheriff or any authorized court personnel? So let's go back to the provision to paragraph 2. So under paragraph 2, STF is only applicable to expenses relative to the trial of the case. So extrajudicial foreclosure, not trial of the case. So it's not covered by the STF. And the cost, expenses, there are jurisprudence issued by the Supreme Court regarding the posting of notices. So, in the case of Fortune Motors Philippines, Incorporated Petitioner versus Metropolitan Bank and Trust Company, and the Court of Appeals as respondents under GR number 115068, dated November 28, 1986. The Supreme Court ruled that Act 3135 does not require posting of the notice of sale on the mortgage property. Section 3 of the said law merely requires that the notice of the sale be posted for not less than 20 days in at least 3 public places of the municipality or city where the property is situated. The aforementioned places, to wit, the sheriff's office, the assessor's office, and the register of deeds, are certainly the public places contemplated by law, as these are places where people interested in purchasing real estate congregate. So, posting of notices where the property is located is not required. So, there's no reason to collect STF for posting of notices. So, in case of court stations, separated from the halls of justice, they are renting separate or somewhere else, and they have no nearby public places to post notices, they can request or ask for the authorization of the Office of the Court Administrator to allow them to collect STF for that purpose only. So the general rule, no STF for EJF, but it can be allowed if the court needs a fund for the posting of notices. Okay. Paragraph 2 of Section 10 also provides that in case the initial deposit of 1,000 pesos is not sufficient, then the plaintiff or petitioner shall be required to make an additional deposit. So it's not the maximum amount. The clerk of court may require the party if 1,000 is not enough. So the sheriff, process server, or other court-authorized person shall submit to the court for its approval a statement of the estimated travel expenses or SETE for service of summons and court processes. So who will approve the SETE? It's the presiding judge of the branch. In case of sheriff or process server from Office of the Clerk of Court, it is the executive judge. So once approved, the Clerk of Court shall release the money to said sheriff or process server. After service, a statement of liquidation shall be submitted to the court for approval. After rendition of judgment by the court, any excess from the deposit shall be returned to the party who made the deposit. So this is the general rule about Sheriff's Trust Fund. Clarifications on STF. So, an OCA circular was issued 135-2009, dated October 1, 2009, was reiterated in Administrative Matter number 17-12-09-SC, dated January 10, 2018. The Supreme Court en banc clarified that STF is not part of the legal fees. It should be collected even from those listed as exempted from the payment of legal fees, including government agencies. The use of the STF is not limited to sheriffs but actually involve process servers and those court personnel designated to serve notices, subpoenas, and other court processes. So, another clarification, upon filing of the complaint, the amount of 1,000 pesos shall be deposited to the clerk of court to be deposited in a separate account or STF account. The amount that shall be used for the transportation and or travel expenses to be incurred in serving summons, subpoenas, and other court processes in a particular case on trial. So the transportation expenses, it is the amount authorized to cover the actual travel fare from the court to the place or places where summons, subpoena, and other court processes are to be served, and vice versa. So, travel expenses, amount authorized to cover the hotel or lodging rates. So, if you're going to stay for a whole 1 day, so you're entitled to hotel or lodging rates. So, it's called now travel expenses. So, the meals and the incidental expenses, excluding transportation expenses in going to and from the travel destination. So, not for expenses incurred in the implementation of the rates. So, the execution of rates is not covered by the 1,000 pesos. There are separate deposits for execution of rates. The OCA issued circular number 263-2018, December 27, 2018, which directed all executive judges and judges of single sala courts to submit a uniform fare matrix to simplify and expedite the disbursement and liquidation of transportation and travel expenses. So if the court has an approved uniform fare matrix, the sheriffs or process server need not attach a supporting paper or receipt related to the expenses they put in the statement of liquidation. So if it's within the prescribed uniform fare matrix of the court, so no need to attach anything. So who should approve the fare matrix? It is the executive judges or the presiding judges in single sala courts. So you should provide or you should come up with a uniform or reasonable fare matrix. So, if it's unreasonable, the OCA might disapprove it. So, you should consider the ordinary mode of transportation in your area or in the place where you are going to provide the fare matrix. So, it should be reasonable. Procedure in claiming cash advance from the STF. So the first thing to do, the sheriff or process server shall prepare a statement of estimated transportation and travel expenses or SETE and itinerary of travel or IT. Next, submit the SETE and IT to the presiding judge for approval. So if the sheriff or process server is from the OCC, so he should submit it to the EJ. So next, after approval of the SETE and IT, the sheriff or process server shall prepare a disbursement voucher or DB. So, submit the DV together with the approved SETE and IT to the clerk of court, the office of the clerk of court. Then the clerk of court shall process the disbursement voucher to release the amount as approved by the court, the cash advance. Okay? So here is the sample of the sete. So there's the case number, the person to be served, date of filing, so title of the case, address or destination, then the court process. So you're going to serve. And the amount there. The amount should be in consonance with the approved fare matrix. So you should have an approved uniform fare matrix by now. So the auditors are checking on that. So the clerk of court and the judge may be required to explain if you still have no approved uniform fare matrix. So to be approved by the judge and not by the clerk of court. So the sete. So here is the sample of the itinerary of travel. So the amount provided in the sete can be seen here, the breakdown of that amount. So the travel expenses provided in going to the area, to the place, and going back. So the 306 pesos. So it should be prepared by the sheriff or process server, recommending approval by the branch clerk of court or the clerk of court. If the process server or sheriff is from the OCC, so approved by the presiding judge or the executive judge. So indicate the date of service, place of origin, and destination. Indicate the names of person or persons to be served. So this itinerary of travel and sete shall be attached to the disbursement voucher. Okay, so preparation of the disbursement voucher. So it's the credit to cash advance. So it's a cash advance. Should be prepared by the sheriff or process server. And the attachment should be reviewed by the branch clerk of court or the clerk of court if the sheriff process server is from the OCC. So it should be approved by the presiding judge or this one for single sala or EJ. So EJ or the presiding judge is single sala. So this serves as the order. So no need for the separate order for STF. So this will suffice. So the sheriff or process server must receive the amount, the cash advance from this portion. So no need to provide additional acknowledgement receipt. Okay. Fill in the information needed. Sheriff or process server shall prepare the DV and certify its correctness. Indicate the amount provided under the approved uniform fare matrix. So the amount to be provided should be in consonance with the approved uniform fare matrix. Time of travel should be provided, departure and arrival. So the meal allowance shall be a part of the uniform fare matrix for locations more than half day of travel. Okay, so you may consider adding a meal allowance. So how much meal allowance? So the meal allowance, it depends on the distance. So how much meal allowance? So within the 50-kilometer radius from the official station to the place of destination and back, actual transportation fare plus the authorized cost of meal allowance if out of the office for 1 day, so 80 pesos. But if the travel is more than the 50-kilometer radius, it's 150 pesos. So travel beyond 50-kilometer radius, absence from the permanent station for 1 day or more, transportation expenses and full travel expenses allowed. So no per dime. So the per dime is not allowed for STF. If claim includes hotel room or lodging rate, so there must be a written justification for staying for 1 full day. Submit hotel room or lodging bills or invoices with the official receipts as proof of stay in the place of destination and not commuting daily. So if it's provided in your uniform fare matrix, no need to provide for the hotel and lodging. So if less than 1 day of travel, so only the cost of meal and incidental expenses. So no hotel and lodging. If commuting daily, reimbursement of actual fare at the prevailing rates of the authorized mode of transportation and cost of the meal only. Okay? So here is the sample of the statement of liquidation. So you're required, upon service, you have to liquidate the cash advance. So this is the format. So liquidate the cash advance incurred. The details are shown here. So after service, sheriff process server to submit the statement of liquidation. with certificate of travel completed, the corresponding amount in the approved uniform fare matrix, proof of service of summons, subpoenas, etc. So, a new itinerary of travel should be submitted if the travel was not in accordance with the previously submitted IT. So, if the itinerary of travel which you submitted when you claim the cash advance is different from the actual cost or expenses you incurred, so you have to submit the new itinerary of travel. Any amount in excess of the approved SETE may be reimbursed, so if necessary and justifiable, subject to the approval of the judge. So, the 306, if not enough, you incurred expenses amounting to 500, so the difference can be reimbursed from the OCC, okay, from the 1,000 pesos also. So, here is the sample of the certificate of travel completed. So, it should be marked here strictly in accordance with the approved itinerary. Okay. So, if you cut short as explained below, you can qualify depending. So, the explanation justification, if you deviate from the itinerary of travel, the cash advance, you should put a justification here. Like if you, it's not included the hotel and lodging, and due to unforeseen events, so you need to stay there for a day or two, so you should put a justification here. So the presiding judge should approve the justification. So the fare ticket, the attachment here is not required if you're using or you have a uniform fare matrix already. So the processor sheriff, then the branch clerk of court should recommend it for approval. So you should, the one who signed the, going to sign the certificate of travel completed. Okay. Then this is the sample of the statement of reimbursement. So if cash advance is not availed of, so you can reimburse what you have incurred in the service of court processes. So provided, so generally reimbursement of expenses are not allowed except for cases which need immediate service and the process of cash advance would cause delay. So in the absence of the approving officer, so provided the SETE should be accomplished first. So the SETE is important. You have to accomplish the SETE before you want to use your personal fund. So you decided not to claim for cash advance and you want to use your personal fund. So statement of reimbursement. But you have to accomplish the SETE first. So the use of personal vehicle like motorcycle or car is allowed, but the reimbursement of gasoline expenses related for the use of private vehicle is not allowed. So the amount that can be reimbursed is the equivalent cost if you rode a jeepney or bus. So the equivalent fare can be reimbursed, not the gasoline expenses if you use your private vehicle or your personal vehicle. So period to liquidate. So immediately after every return. No subsequent cash advances unless previous cash advances have been liquidated. This is the recommendation of the OCA. If you have the sheriff or process server has numerous cash advances and he or she is not liquidating the cash advances, so no subsequent cash advances unless previous cash advances have been liquidated. Liability for non-liquidation, so you might be subject of an administrative matter. And the co-observation reports, the STF, the sheriff or process server is not using the STF, so they want the STF to be deposited to the Bureau of Treasury. So that's why the OCA is getting strict on the use of STF. So if the audit team found out that you're not using the STF, so they might think that you're soliciting from the private party or plaintiff. So it's prohibited by the law. You might be dismissed for solicitation. Okay? Service of court processes to several parties in the same location. So it's not allowed to claim separately per case if you serve court processes to several parties in the same location during the same time. Okay? So in instances where the parties or witnesses to different cases are to be served in the same area or locality within the same day, the cost of travel shall be charged to the amount deposited for the cases concerned, proportionate to the number of persons to be served in each case. So you cannot multiply it by the number of cases you serve during the day. So it should be apportioned to each case, the actual cost. So STF should be the actual cost. The sample computation. So let's assume that the total transportation expenses incurred is 800 pesos. So the 800 pesos involves 4 cases. So for case A, there is 1 defendant. So for case B, there are 2 defendants. C, 3 defendants. For D is for defendants. So the total, there are 10 defendants. So the 800 pesos shall be apportioned between the 4 cases and depending on the number of defendants. So for A, so they are going to have a ratio from this data. So 1 over 10. So 1 over 10 times 800 is 80. So for case B, 2 dependents, 2 over 10, 160. So 310, 240. So 410, 320, then total of 800 pesos. So this is how the total expenses, transportation expenses, should be apportioned if the sheriff or process server serve court processes for different cases in one area during the same time, at the same time. So this is the formula: A, B, C, D. Okay. Now, for service of court processes to several parties in different locations. In instances where the parties or witnesses to different cases are to be served in different area or locality within the same day, the cost of travel shall be charged to the amount deposited for the cases concerned, proportionate to the actual cost of transportation. So like, for example, a total transportation expense of 240 pesos. So involving 3 cases. So the sheriff or process server, during his first service to case A, he incurred a transport cost of 90 pesos. Then the 90 pesos shall be divided or a proportion to case A, B, and C. So divided by 3. So the computation, A 90 times 1/3. 30 pesos shall be allocated to A. Okay. Then the process server or sheriff proceeded to place of B. So incurred 100 pesos cost. So this 100 shall be divided between B and C. So 50 pesos for B. So total of expenses incurred for B amounting to 80 pesos. So the 50 here shall be a portion or shall be borne by KC. So 50, another, the last transport cost from B's place going to C, 50 pesos. So this 50 pesos shall be allocated to C alone. So 30, 50, 50, 130 for C. So that's how you allocate the total cost incurred if the process server or sheriff serve court processes at the same time involving different cases or different parties. Okay, this ends our discussion about the paragraph 2 of Sheriff's Trust Fund. So next video tutorial would be about service of court processes outside the territorial jurisdiction. And another video for execution of writs pursuant to paragraph 4 of section 10, rule 141, revised rules of court. So if you enjoyed and learned something from this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see another video like this, so the service of court processes outside territorial jurisdiction, you may consider subscribing. So you would be notified if I uploaded the video. Okay, thank you. Bye.